everyone is here again. The children clean the headstones, the old tell stories about the names. I lay my puppy down and the others do the same. There will be no stone left alone. I lay my puppy down and the others do the same. We won't stop till there's no stone left alone.
Hello, I'm Dawna Friesen. No Stone Left Alone started with a simple, touching idea. Recognize the sacrifice of those who served by having students place poppies on the headstones of veterans. It now happens every November across the country and overseas. It began 8 years ago at Beechmount Cemetery in Edmonton and has spread from coast to coast to coast and even internationally, with ceremonies being held as far away as Krakow, Poland. Altogether, 114 ceremonies will be held this year. More than 11,000 students will lay more than 62,000 poppies. And the goal is to one day have 117,000 Canadian veterans' headstones honored with a poppy. It is easier to forget than to remember, especially as time passes and the details of sacrifice become more distant. That's why this project is so powerful. It connects the stories of those who were lost and in danger of being forgotten with a new generation who have never known war. Row on row, the headstones sit like sentinels, marking so many lives lived and lost. This is the grave of Robert Johnston Small.
He marched so smartly, you'd think he was still in the Navy.
He and his best friend Blair Vipond were 17 when they signed up. Prairie boys, excited to serve in World War II.
They were inseparable from the time they were infants, basically, to when they enrolled in with the armed forces.
Bob joined the Navy, Blair the Air Force.
My grandmother, his mother, she just broke down in tears. She didn't want to see her 17-year-old son going off and with the possibility of not returning.
By 1943, they were headed overseas. Bob assigned to HMCS Stormont, doing the dangerous work of escorting supply convoys past German U-boats in the Battle of the Atlantic, and supporting the amphibious invasion of Normandy on D-Day. While on a short leave in London, Bob looked up his friend Blair, knocking on the door of the rooming house where he stayed.
The poor landlady had to break the news to him that Blair had been killed. His plane had been shot down over France. And of course, that was the first Bob knew about it. So it was very devastating for him.
He survived the war. He did all the things Blair couldn't. He married, had a family, became a district fire chief, and he always kept the memory of his best friend alive.
He kept a picture of himself and Blair in their living room, and he would pull it out and show it to us and say, "This is my buddy Blair Vipond and me."
Instead of forgetting the war, he made a point of talking about it.
He spoke to hundreds of students every November about his wartime experiences, how important it is to remember, and how everyone should be proud to call themselves Canadian.
In 2013, Bob passed away at the age of 89. And when his daughter-in-law visited the cemetery on November 11th a few years ago, she saw a poppy on his headstone.
We were so touched to see that the students had been to the cemetery ahead of time for the No Stone Left Alone ceremony.
So she hand-wrote a letter and taped it to the headstone, hoping the following year the student would want to know more.
I just think it would have so much more meaning if you could put a face to the person.
Robert J. Small.
Grade 9 student Elle McNeil did. She laid the poppy for Bob Small this year.
Bob and his best friend Blair were only 17 years old when they decided that they wanted to join the Canadian Armed Forces.
Hard to imagine he was just a few years older than these students when he signed up.
I couldn't imagine anyone I know, let alone myself, going through that.
A connection from the grave of a soldier to a new generation.
Now I know what he was like, and I don't just see the gravestone and have to picture what he looked like. I know what he looked like, what his personality was like.
That's the power of No Stone Left Alone. A keepsake for the kids. Coming up, the woman behind the hundreds of special stones being handed out in Winnipeg. Plus,
it shows that the family still care.
the positive impact the No Stone Left Alone program has had on a Second World War veteran.
Time to get festive with Swiss Chalet's Festive Special. Enjoy our signature rotisserie chicken with all the festive fixings, a box of 5 Lindor truffles, and a festive scratch and win card where everyone's a winner. Swiss Chalet's famous Festive Special. Taste it once, love it forever.
Pneumococcal pneumonia is the most common type of bacteria.
Poppies on the graves of those who have served. Once the ceremony is over, though, how will they continue to remember? Well, in Winnipeg, some are going home with a permanent reminder, thanks to a woman whose family has, for decades, served our country. Here's Kayla Evans.
For Tova Anderson, the inspiration began here.
Just behind where we are at the lake, there was this big rock. I took all my paints and I painted this giant rock with the Remember.
A token of remembrance. Now reproduced in a more manageable size. Tova's husband is a retired Air Force veteran, and her son is currently serving in Alaska. Personal ties that make her passionate about remembering their service to our country and passionate about helping others remember too. I
have one in my kitchen and I go, I remember, you know, but with joy, right? Because again, you're proud as a mother and a wife that we have what we have, because so we remember.
So this one's got 2.
That stone told me just to put 2 on there.
Tova's work resonated with Peter Martin, a veteran himself and Manitoba's organizer for the No Stone Left Alone movement.
I said, geez, wouldn't it be wonderful to have some of these at our event? She said, how many do you need? I said, no, Tova, I need like 525 or so. Done.
Tova painted hundreds of stones and is here today to help pass them out to each and every student, but not until another important act of remembrance takes place. Here in the Transcona Cemetery, there is a special area called the Field of Honor, where 325 members of the armed forces are buried. For the 4th year in a row now, the No Stone Left Alone initiative has invited Winnipeg students to come here and place a poppy at the foot of each and every grave.
We shall not sleep, the poppies grow in Flanders Field.
As the students walk back to their buses on this chilly morning, they pick up one of Tova's remembrance stones.
Thank you.
Thank you. And leave with a special reminder of the day.
I feel like it's really beautiful, and it's like showing how all the veterans fought for us. It's like a pay it forward act, honestly, because she's just doing something for other people, and we didn't even request this.
Tova is now in discussions to make remembrance stones for students across the country for next year's No Stone Left Alone ceremonies, and she is more than happy to get back to work painting.
It's simple for me, and it's a joy, and I love doing it, and I love giving them, and I love the fact that something so tiny can make a difference.
In Winnipeg for Global News, I'm Kayla Evans.
Teachers and students are cornerstones of the success of No Stone Left Alone. The movement also gets tremendous support, though, from those who have served. Morgan Campbell has the story of one veteran whose involvement with these ceremonies has changed his perspective on his own service.
Marvin Fisher never thought he deserved the medals that line the left breast pocket of this tunic. The 93-year-old spent much of his adult life living with a sense of guilt that he didn't serve his country to the best of his ability. After being captured and held in a prisoner of war camp not even 2 months into his tour during World War II, the memory of that day still vivid.
That's a sad time to see all of your friends and buddies and comrades, you know, laying there dead as a doornail, and not a mark on yourself.
Fisher grew up on a farm in Collingwood, Ontario. On his 18th birthday, he went off to war serving as an infantryman in Belgium and later in Holland, where he was captured in February of 1945. Fisher was held alongside Canadian, British, and Russian soldiers in a work camp known as Stalag 11B. He lived there for 3 months until May 7th, which also happened to be his birthday, when the camp was repatriated. Officially discharged, he was back in Ontario by October of that year. Fisher has spent much of his retired life supporting acts of remembrance, speaking to school children, not-for-profits, and legions. He began working with No Stone Left Alone in 2015 and holds the event close to his heart.
To see this type of thing going on and people who do care, it makes your heart feel good.
Fisher enjoys spending time with the children who soak up the knowledge he can share about a time that defined Canada.
I would want to know how they coped with it and how it was really like back then, because it's hard to imagine.
How does it happen? How do you remember all these people you used to talk to, these important people in your life?
It shows that the family still care. And the people still care.
Most of these students don't even know it, but they have helped Fisher let go of that sense of guilt that he once felt. He now puts on his medals with pride, knowing that although his service was short, he put his own life on the line for the greater good at just 18 years old. Morgan Campbell, Global News.
Combining two passions, why a landlocked teacher turned sailor is the perfect mix for passing the torch to the next generation. Plus,
we're laying over 5,000 poppies there on that day.
The motivation behind a young girl's decision to organize her own No Stone Left Alone ceremony. Decided joining the Navy was perfect for her. And as Carlisle Fizette reports, when No Stone Left Alone began, that woman was chosen to work with local kids to help them connect to the project.
Callista Satry is a woman of two worlds.
Good job. You can go to another row and find another grave, okay?
And every November, those worlds collide.
What I'm going to do is I will be the one starting the ceremony, but then after that, I'm not going to speak a lot. It's all going to be students and children. That's what the ceremony is about.
She splits her time between the Canadian Forces and the classroom, equally at home in either element.
I'm very lucky that I've managed to find two passions in my life, educating and serving, and I'm able to bring them both together with this project.
A life on the water isn't something many born on the prairies aspire to.
Why the Navy from Saskatchewan?
Well, I really like the water, and I know I'm living in the wrong place to really like the water. I've always just been really interested in sailing in the ocean, in ships. I wanted to serve something greater than myself. Every day I was coming in and helping the students gain their own potential and realize their dreams. However, I was finding that I was a little wanting more.
She spearheads Regina's No Stone Left Alone campaign, seemingly the perfect opportunity to combine her two occupations.
She has just taken it and run with it.
Her colleagues have taken notice. Lieutenant Commander James Balfour has seen her efforts firsthand.
It's grown a little bit every year, so every year she gets more ambitious with this. She's good about reminding us that all of those sacrifices have something to do with what we believe as a country and the things that we've stood up for in the past.
It's that military perspective and classroom comfort that makes Satry such a natural.
To honor every soldier, sailor, airman, and airwoman.
You got the job today, and you already got it down pat. That's amazing. I think Remembrance is changing. Unfortunately, time goes on. World War I veterans, we don't have any of those anymore. Very few World War II. And the type of a veteran is changing too. It's somebody who's your teacher. It could be somebody who is, just walking down the street. All the different cultures, different ages. It's not what you typically would remember as a veteran anymore.
And on a chilly prairie morning, there's nowhere she would rather be than helping pass the torch of remembrance to a new generation.
It's the very least we can do. Very least I can do, standing at attention, having them in our minds, because what we enjoy now is based on what they gave.
Carlisle Fizette, Global News, Regina.
Now to Calgary, where a remarkable young woman is leading the charge this year to honor 5,000 veterans. Remarkable because Molly Kavanagh is just 11 years old. Krista Dow has her story.
It's part of the preparation, a little bit of housekeeping to ensure these graves are ready for the big day.
There's over like 5,000 of them, so we're laying over 5,000 poppies.
A tribute to the soldiers resting here at Queen's Park Cemetery. No Stone Left Alone already has deep roots across Canada, but it's new this year at St. Joseph's School in Calgary. And grade 6 student Molly Kavanagh is the reason why.
I'm excited just to see each kid stop and read their name, watch them lay their poppy.
Molly first heard about it last summer on the radio, and with the help of her two friends, spent the next year researching and preparing the poppies.
I don't think as many younger students are aware because it didn't affect us. We don't know what it's like to be in war.
I think that sometimes people forget how important it is.
And it's that forward thinking that has retired Major Patricia Murphy hopeful for the future.
The young people that I meet do seem to understand, and they do seem to recognize what was given for their liberties.
The military veteran of 31 years became the first female squadron commander in the history of the King's Own Calgary Regiment. She served overseas in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and she's also been awarded the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal for her contributions to Canada. Murphy says ceremonies like No Stone Left Alone are crucial in preserving the memories of fallen soldiers.
At her age, she is so aware of the sacrifices that were made that she wants to recognize them and honor them. I think that's really, really commendable.
The school's principal says all 440 students from kindergarten to grade 9 will participate, with each student recognizing 12 military men and women.
It's much more powerful than just reading about what Remembrance Day is and what soldiers did for us in a textbook. It's the action.
To
read and touch the gravestone of a fallen veteran. It makes it real.
Mcauley is already working on next year's ceremony, looking to incorporate more eco-friendly poppies into the mix.
I think it'll be a really respectful way to tell them that we're grateful, just showing them that we care.
Krista Dow, Global News.
Becoming familiar with a new tradition, the lessons being learned by young new Canadians who are experiencing Remembrance Day for the first time.
Time to get festive.
After attending a ceremony, students write a letter about their experience.
And I headed over to your headstone. Gently placed the poppy and prayed. Prayed a message of peace to you and a reminder of love that no one will forget your courage and determination. Please know Canada's nation is proud of your selflessness. We are all proud of you. I hope that you know you are loved. Lest we forget, sincerely, Paulina.
Thank you so much for serving our country, Canada. I am filled with thanks and blessings. No stone left alone. I will remember all who passed. When I laid a poppy on your stone, I said a prayer to you. I hope you heard me. You are so brave and strong, and we thank you so much for serving our country. I will remember you in my heart for as long as I can. As long as I live, there will not be one stone left alone. Sincerely, Amelia.
Plenty of new immigrants to Canada now call Nova Scotia home, and school is often where many of them learn the importance of Remembrance Day. Ashley Field spoke with two students who are spending their first November 11th on Canadian soil.
Remembrance Day is, to me, the most important day of the year.
At Gorsebrook Junior High School in Halifax, Remembrance Day lessons are well underway. Most of these students aware of the day's significance, but for some,
I just know that it's a day to honor the soldiers that fought for the country.
This is all new. Hala Abdulbari and her family just moved to Canada from Egypt. This November 11th will be her first Remembrance Day.
It's nice to know that they, celebrate their soldiers.
Senna Ashodin is also getting accustomed to the new tradition. Her family recently immigrated from Nigeria. She's preparing poppies for a no stone left alone ceremony, learning the significance of the symbol just a few weeks ago.
I heard that poppies grew in the graveyards where the veterans were buried.
Many students across Nova Scotia will be learning about Remembrance Day for the first time this year, as this province continues to break immigration records, a trend Basil Rose says is reflected in his classroom.
The influx is pretty great. For a small school, we are very diverse.
Rose is a retired captain who served in Afghanistan, and he's passionate about Remembrance Day.
To introduce them to our traditions, I think, is important, that they know how we honor our war dead know what we do on Remembrance Day and know that it's important to attend those events.
No Stone Left Alone, just one of the ways he shows remembrance with his students.
Being ex-military myself, I jumped at the chance to take part in No Stone Left Alone. Some of you have taken part now. This would be your third one from school, correct?
His students laid poppies at the Fort Massey Cemetery for the past 3 years. Ashodin is excited to experience it for the first time.
It's lovely. A student will read out a poem for the veterans, and we'll all have a moment of silence for them.
But even as he shares the lessons of war, Rose considers the impact on his newest students.
You have no idea what memories that might trigger. You have no idea what might have happened to those kids in that location. So you have to be careful, and we are careful to know the history before we start talking about Remembrance Day and war.
Finding a way to respect and appreciate the sacrifices made, because just as remembering what happened may be difficult,
so many people died, and I saw like children, like 15-year-olds, and it was like, oh my God, like my age.
These students have learned that not remembering is worse.
We cannot forget about people who went away from their homes, their families, to fight and put their lives at stake.
Ashley Field, Global News, Halifax.
Rebecca Lappa, a young songwriter from Edmonton, has written a No Stone Left Alone song, and we leave you with that song and more of what the No Stone Left Alone program is all about. Students honoring those who serve. I'm Dawna Friesen. Thanks for watching.
I walk into the cemetery, everyone is here again. The children clean the headstones, the old tell stories about the names. I lay my poppy down and the others do the same. There will be no stone left alone. I see my grandpa flying high as he forged on through the sky, and my brother who came back without a friend. And though I feel blessed, there's grief weighing on my chest. There will be no stone left alone. I lay my puppy down and the others do the same. We won't stop till there's no stone left alone.
News special presentation.
Good morning on this Monday, November 11th, as Canada remembers at cenotaphs and memorials in cities and towns across this country. People from all walks of life, all ages, from all backgrounds take part in this, and we're going to bring you the National Ceremony of Remembrance that takes place every year at the National War Memorial in Ottawa. That's what you're looking at right now. People have begun to gather on this chilly morning in the nation's capital. The War Memorial here was first unveiled back in 1939 to commemorate the great response of Canadians during the First World War. And that war ended at 11 a.m. on the 11th day of the 11th month. And that is why we have this act of remembrance on this day every year. Hello, I'm Dawna Friesen. Thank you for taking time out of your day to pause and reflect. The National Ceremony of Remembrance will begin in just under half an hour from now. The veterans beginning to march in and arrive now. We will pause at the top of the hour. That's for the moment of silence, 2 minutes of silence to be exact, at the exact hour when the guns fell silent. And as we wait for more veterans and their families and dignitaries to arrive, our Ottawa Bureau Chief, Mercedes Stevenson, is out in the crowd today, wrapped up warmly, I hope, Mercedes. What strikes you about this morning?
The number of Canadians who come to this, Dawna, it's really incredible. People who have connections to the military, people who have absolutely none but want to come and pay their respects. Tremendous numbers of crowds as I look out around me here, people wearing their poppies who wanted to come and pay their respects. And you really see the emotion in the faces of the veterans who are here and what that means to them. So that's always what really strikes me about being here at the National War Memorial, is that incredible emotion and the feelings that just ordinary Canadians bring to this ceremony, and that moment to remember those who've fallen and will never come home, and those who've come home forever changed.
And Mercedes, you've had a chance to speak to a number of people there. What are they? What's the sense today? People from all walks of life, we should say, right? All backgrounds, all walks of life.
People from all walks of life, and Canadians from all across the country, by the way, who come here. And every year I've had the chance to speak to people who say they wanted this chance to come to Ottawa. It is incredibly emotional to be here. It is very meaningful. There are so many military in the crowd here, of course, because we are here in Ottawa. One of the people I spoke to is Veterans Affairs Minister Lawrence Mcauley. This is what he told me. I'm here with Minister of Veterans Affairs, Lawrence Mcauley, on this Remembrance Day. Minister, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
What is your message to veterans today who are at home watching this and here at the ceremony?
Well, of course, my message, and I think the message of Canadians today, is that we truly care. We respect what you did. We understand the sacrifice, or some of the understanding of the sacrifice. We work hard to make young people understand how important what they did is all about, whether if it's in Afghanistan or the Second World War.
Tell me a little bit about the average veteran today. We still are fortunate enough to have some of those Second World War veterans with us, but there are many very young veterans of the Afghan War in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s. How has that changed looking after our veterans?
Well, without a question, Veterans Affairs has changed. I was here 25 years ago. Like example, PTSD is understood reasonably well now, and things like that 25 years ago, that was not, I don't think it was dealt with by any means like it is today. The Afghan veterans and other veterans are, we strive to make sure that we serve them properly, but it was, their injuries you cannot see. That is the difference, really. You cannot see, but they're not well.
There's been a lot of frustration among many veterans, successive governments, Conservative, Liberal, yours just re-elected. What's your priority as minister in caring for our veterans now as you return to power?
Well, of course, understanding the wait times are unacceptable, totally unacceptable, and we're working very hard in order to digitize the files to make sure that we hire, like we lost about 1,000 employees in the last 5 or 6 years ago. That was a big problem for Veterans Affairs. We have hired a lot more caseworkers, but we have much more to do, and we're working very hard to make sure that we get to veterans what they truly deserve. That is what Canadians want.
Minister, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And Dawna, I don't know if you can hear that applause in the background. That is for the Veterans Parade that has...
All right, the Veterans Parade, their Mercedes signal just we'll hope to get back to. All right, so we're having a little trouble with our signal from Ottawa. We hope to get that back shortly. So let's look ahead now to one of the things that we're remembering today, and that is many conflicts, many veterans who came back injured and are trying to make that difficult transition to civilian life, as Lawrence Mcauley was pointing out. But we're also looking way back in time to the First World War, the veterans who fought battles there in filthy, muddy trenches along the Western Front in Europe, at Verdun and the Somme and Passchendaele and Vimy Ridge, where the bodies of thousands of young soldiers were never even found. And when combat ceased in that war, there were 37 million casualties. The fighting started the summer of 1914. It was supposed to be over by Christmas, but it lasted 4 long years. 620,000 Canadians battled on land and 2 oceans. More than 66,000 of them never made it home. Another 170,000 of them were wounded. We fought as a country for the first time, not as units of the British military. And joining me today from Ottawa, as he does every year on this day, is Dean Oliver. He is Director of Research at the Canadian Museum of History. Dean, start by reminding us who we are remembering today. Canada is, of course, a country of immigrants, and those who lost their lives while serving come from all backgrounds and all walks of life, right?
They do indeed, and many of those have served even at times when perhaps the state of Canada might not necessarily have deserved it. But the history of their service is long and distinguished. One of the first Victoria Cross recipients in Canada was in the 1850s, a black man named William Hall, who was the child of those who had escaped slavery in the United States. Another of our Victoria Cross winners, Philip Kaval, was a Ukrainian Canadian who served and earned his VC at Hill 70 in 1917, at the same time as Ukrainian Canadians were being locked up for potential disloyalty in Canada. There were Chinese Canadian special service agents in the Burma India Theatre. The War Museum has a small display on a man named Matsuo Mitsui, who was a Japanese Canadian who served with distinction in the First World War, only to find his property and the record of his service dishonored, his property confiscated in the internment operations of World War II. So even now, I think, Dawna, somewhere in the range of 10% of Canadians are members of visible minorities, and not much lower a percentage of those, 7, 8, 9% are members of recent immigrant communities. So the numbers have been and are very, very high.
And that's some very good information to have, Dean. And also, we wear poppies as to honor and to pay tribute to those veterans. We do it because we want to, not because it's mandatory. And I think it's safe to say we can't assume because someone forgets to wear a poppy or isn't wearing one or takes it off, that does not mean that they aren't honoring veterans.
Well, it's an interesting conundrum, isn't it? We all feel as though there's some kind of secular obligation to wearing a poppy. I feel it, my family feels it, and I hope I've instilled in my children the desire to feel it. But in the end, military service in a democracy is to make the world safe, to make choices that perhaps you or I wouldn't always like. When I walk here to the studio in the morning, I pass through a sea of poppies in a largely multicultural city, and so I don't feel as though, and I think the numbers support me in this, that the propensity to wear poppies, adherence to the memory of those who served, or participation in remembrance ceremonies is anywhere in decline. In fact, if memory serves, there was an Ipsos poll this week that said the numbers are up about 15%, even from as recently as 2016. You and I in past years have talked about whether or not, in the aftermath of our major contribution to Afghanistan, attention to remembrance would decline. I think now, some years afterwards, the answer's in. No, it hasn't.
I think you're absolutely right. Thank you for all of that historical information, important information to share. Dean Oliver, we're going to come back to you. Let's go back out to the crowd now. Very chilly morning in Ottawa. Our chief political correspondent, David Aiken, is out there in the crowd with the veterans and their families. David, what strikes you about this morning?
Well, it is chilly, Donna. There's no question about it, but I've seen worse weather here on some of these Remembrance days. It was about -7 when people started arriving here, and there's probably about 30 or 40,000 people here. It's going to get up all the way to -4, but it's dry. We're not going to get any snow. And there's, of course, lots of veterans here and families of veterans. And the great thing is, as you walk around the crowd, you see lots of younger people. And I want to introduce you to a couple. I have Philip here and Tristan. They are from Gatineau, Quebec, right across the way. And I'm going to ask Philip first, why was it important for you to be here, Philip?
It was important for me to be here because I'm supporting my dad that served our country.
And why don't you point your dad out? There he is right there, Yanis. Thank you for your service, Yanis. And Tristan, you're Philip's brother, and you're cold, aren't you? Right? And tell me why you're here today.
I'm here because my father served our country.
Well, you guys did a great job. Thank you very much, all of you. Very much appreciated. So, Dawna, again, there's of course, Global News has been part of a program called No Stone Left Alone, and that's a program that goes into schools and gets kids out to cemeteries and memorials all across the country as we make sure that younger Canadians understand the service and sacrifice of all those who served. Back to you.
Thank you, David. Yes, a very powerful program involving so many young students across the country. So great to see these young faces in the crowd as we wait for the official ceremony to begin and the dignitaries to arrive there at the National War Memorial in Ottawa. We're waiting for the Prime Minister, the Silver Cross Mother, the Governor General. They'll all be arriving shortly. Mercedes Stevenson had a chance to speak to the Chief of Defence Staff. Mercedes.
Chief of the Defence Staff, a man who is commanded in combat theatres. He's lost troops. A very emotional day for him. I had a chance to ask him how the ceremony has changed over the years from his perspective and what it means. When we spoke, you could see the emotion in his face. It doesn't matter how tough of an infantry officer you are. Today is hard for those who serve and those who have served. Here's my conversation with him, Dawna. I'm here with the Chief of the Defence Staff, General Jonathan Vance. General Vance, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Can you tell me a little bit about how many Canadians are deployed around the world right now on operations in the Canadian Armed Forces?
Yeah, right now we have well, close to 3,000 deployed, just between, on any given day, between 2,700 and 3,000 deployed. Deployed in Canada, deployed in Europe, Middle East, Africa, on exercise and operations in the Indo-Asia Pacific. So we are globally deployed. With large numbers of people, almost the same number of people we had during the height of the Afghan conflict.
You served in the Afghan conflict on more than one tour. You have a long history in the armed forces. You know what it's like to lose friends, to lose men and women under your command. What do you think of when you're here on Remembrance Day each year looking at this beautiful monument?
Well, it's a very personal moment, I think, for everybody as they come here and reflect, particularly as the clock strikes 11. As I lay that wreath, I think of you know, my troops that I lost, that I remember, that I knew personally. I think of my dad, who's passed now, who served 37 years in the forces. During the ceremony, you know, I think of this country and the contributions the military has made to the country. And I've got to tell you, it's a bittersweet day as we think of those who we lost and those who served. That's hard, but it's good to see people out, you know, remembering our veterans. Thousands of people come out every year. It's a good feeling.
Have you noticed a change during your time in the military from how many people used to come out to what we see now after the Afghanistan war?
Yeah, I think there's been quite a spike in terms of numbers of people coming out. The Afghanistan war was one that made it very personal to many Canadians, and that connection between those who served before, so the older veterans that we're accustomed to, and now a whole generation of new veterans who fought just as hard and are just as dedicated to this country. I think it's really created a groundswell of support for those who served, and an opportunity for us to remember those who we lost. You think today our Silver Cross Mother, who lost her son Matthew in 2007 in the Afghanistan conflict. I mean, that really brings it home.
What message do you have for your troops today?
Well, Canadians stand every day, and I think, but particularly today, they come out in numbers to show support and honor those who served and those who died. And so it's an honorable thing that we do in uniform. It's important for the country, and everybody here is telling us that, and that's a good thing.
Thank you so much for making time to us today, sir.
Thanks, Mercedes.
And Dawna, a reminder, of course, that we do have thousands of troops deployed abroad today. It's those who are still serving a uniform as well that are veterans.
Mercedes Stevenson, thanks. Some obvious emotion there from the Chief of Defence Staff as he talks about those who he's remembering and, of course, who we're all remembering today, those who served and died in conflicts in the name of this country. I believe the Prime Minister is going to be arriving shortly. Justin Trudeau here at this ceremony, expected to be there. There he is. He's arrived with his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau. This, I believe, is his 5th Remembrance Day. Last year, he was not here. He was in France along with other world leaders to commemorate 100 years since the end of the First World War. So this today he's met by the Legion President Thomas Irvine and the Legion's National Executive Director Stephen Clark. And the next person we expect to see arrive is this year's Silver Cross Mother. Well, Canada officially ended our military role in Afghanistan in 2014. That war spanned more than a decade for Canadian troops. Thousands of Americans are still there, and it has become America's longest war. The first Canadian soldiers arrived in Afghanistan in late 2001, not long after the 9/11 attacks on the United States. The goal was to find and punish those responsible, but it came at great cost. More than 40,000 Canadians served in Afghanistan. Suicide attacks and roadside bombs made it a war with no front line. 158 of our troops were killed, and many others are still plagued by the psychological strain of serving in such a difficult environment. Canada's mission in Afghanistan officially ended in March 2014, more than 12 years after it began. All right, and there is the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, awaiting the arrival of the other dignitaries. The next person to arrive will be the Silver Cross Mother. I believe we're going to see her. There she is. Let's listen in for a moment.
While returning from a mission in that country, he died along with 5 Canadian soldiers and an Afghan interpreter after his vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb. Captain Daw was the commander of A Platoon, C Company, 3 Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry Battalion. His company was part of 2 Royal Canadian Regiment battle groups serving in Kandahar, Afghanistan.
There is the Silver Cross Mother. She is a mother of 4 sons. All of them joined the military, and her youngest, Captain Matthew Jonathan Daw, was killed in action in Afghanistan in 2007.
The Silver Cross is a medal of honor wrapped in deep sadness.
I think it is important that Canadians remember what a war costs.
The cost to Ren Sampson Daw, her youngest child, Matthew.
He was smart, funny, mischievous, adventurous. There was nothing to stop him.
Matthew, like his 3 older brothers, signed up for a career in military service. The ties in this family run deep. Their father, Peter Daw, is a retired lieutenant colonel.
I knew that they would do a very good job of it.
Matthew watched 2 of his brothers serve in Afghanistan and come home. Then, in 2007, it was his turn. He was 27, married with a young son. Global News happened to cover part of his deployment.
Our platoon right now is providing security on the flanks for these guys as they're going through.
I was very worried.
But her role was to remain stoic and supportive.
Matt wouldn't allow me to express any fear or doubts, and in fact, they're all like that. It's hard enough on them, you know. They will do whatever they're asked to do because that's what they signed for. But that doesn't mean that when I'm on my own, I can have my little mini breakdown.
On July 4th, 2007, the vehicle Matthew was in hit a 500-pound bomb buried in the road. He was killed instantly, along with 5 other Canadian soldiers and an Afghan interpreter. That same day, Matthew's son Lucas turned 2.
We've told so many things about his dad that I think he probably feels at times that he knows him quite well.
As Silver Cross mother, she'll represent all mothers like her.
I want to do so with dignity and thinking about them all, you know, sharing their grief. Like I have grief and I certainly understand what they're going through.
How do you spell your last name?
D-A-W-E. Cool.
That's one of the things that I miss the most about not hearing his laughter anymore. But I remember it so clearly, I can just close my eyes and I can hear him laugh. I just know he's still there, and I'm sure I'll see him again.
That is the Silver Cross mother, Ren Sampson Daw. And there is the Governor General, Julie Payette, arriving. This is her 3rd Remembrance Day ceremony at the National War Memorial. Payette also greeted by the Legion President. And once the Vice-Regal Party is in position, we will hear the Central Band of the Canadian Armed Forces and the Ottawa Children's Choir perform O Canada. General meeting the Silver Cross mother. There's the Governor General meeting the various dignitaries, including the Prime Minister, the Silver Cross mother, Ren Sampson Daw, and the other dignitaries. Once she takes her position, then I believe we will hear the Ottawa Children's Choir in the formal rendition of O Canada. As we watch this, just for a couple of minutes, let's go to Dean Oliver, historian from the National War Museum. Dean, as we're seeing lots of young faces in this crowd, but it's important that we look back too. There's so much to remember on this day, and if you could take us back 100 years to 1919, because that was a very pivotal year. The Treaty of Versailles was signed that year. Why was that so important, such an important moment for the world and for Canada?
Well, it's one of the most epic and some would say flawed international agreements in the history of the planet. Many of the empires that had fought the war were swept away. What replaced it was in some cases hope for self-determination, hope for new states struggling to be free, hopes for peace embodied in the League of Nations, but also perhaps sown within it were some of the seeds of a conflict a generation to come in the later 1930s, resulting in World War II. The punishment of Germany, the failure of the United States to join the League, the exclusion of Russia, the sense in Italy that it had not gotten a good shake, the dislocation caused in the Middle East by the disappearance of the Ottoman Empire. There were other things in that period as well, not to be forgotten. The fact that Canada, though it had an indented signature under that of the British Empire, signed on its own, as did the other self-governing dominions. And also, Dawna, it's the first year in which we actually celebrated Remembrance Day, called Armistice Day at the time, but hurriedly and not quite as well organized as it is today. But in 1919, for the first time, people sat around and counted the cost of war. war. And in that year, in Canada, most of our veterans had returned home from overseas by the early fall of 1919.
And that, of course, was supposed to be the war that ended all wars, and it obviously did not. Can you remind us how, in that period between the end of the First World War and moving on to the Second, what were acts of remembrance like? I imagine there were no cenotaphs then, there were no national war memorials, but people were hopeful that they were never going to be in the kind of conflict they just lived through.
They certainly were. There were, as you mentioned off the top, the cenotaph outside the window here was not completed at the time, but there were, in fact, many monuments and memorials, mostly in town squares or central locations, oftentimes marked by decommissioned artillery pieces or pieces of war booty, war trophies that Canadians had brought back from overseas. And for most of that interwar period, in fact, for about a decade, Remembrance or Armistice was marked in and around the same time as Thanksgiving Day. It was only in the early 1930s that changed, but for most of the period there was a mixture of hope for peace, but also very sober recounting of the costs of war. And of course, the audience that one would have seen in 1925 or 1930 would have been predominantly composed of people who had in fact lived the war as Canada did, with all of the memories, all of the scars, all of the damage.
All right, Dean Oliver, thank you so much. As the dignitaries now gather in front of the cenotaph there, we are going to listen to O Canada and the Ottawa Children's Choir. Now, the last post, which will be followed by 2 minutes of silence. And there is the fly past, part of the ceremony every year. 3 aircraft from 3-wing Bagotville, located in Quebec's Saguenay region, flying over the National War Memorial as the trumpeter plays the rouse. Now, the formal process of the act of remembrance.
As we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Ils ne vieilliront pas comme nous qui leur avons survécu. Ils ne connaîtront jamais l'outrage, ni le poids des années. Quand viendra l'heure du crépuscule et celle de l'aurore, nous nous souviendrons d'eux.
Parakoma pio atao. Kestan ni tama pio pi. Hotstem swai. Marak tsiko atao. Kestan ni stem sini. Agaman stachinoya. Ast kapisin ato sewa. Kya tamis kapiskas kanatonis. Agaman stachinoya. Agaman stachinoya.
The prayers are led this morning by Major General Guy Chapdelaine, the Chaplain General of the Canadian Armed Forces. He has been in the force since 1979.
We gather today from across Canada to offer our thanks for those who have gone before us in the cause of freedom and peace. May our humble efforts this morning resonate with the noble efforts of those whom we name this day aloud or in the silence of our hearts. In respecting individual beliefs and conscience, I invite you to take this moment for contemplation. Dans le respect des croyances individuelles et de la conscience de chacun et chacune, je vous invite à prendre ce moment de recueillement. As we remember those heroes who have gone before us, please join me by responding, "We will remember them." Alors que nous nous souvenons de ces héros qui nous ont précédés, veuillez, s'il vous plaît, vous joindre à moi en répondant « Nous nous souviendrons d'eux chaque fois que je prononcerai ces mots. In the presence of our veterans, the living embodiment of valor and service, we pause to remember our men and women who serve our country, that we might live in freedom and peace. We will remember them. Nous nous souvenons également du 75e anniversaire de la campagne d'Italie. Nous rendons grâce pour la détermination de ces militaires pour la force et la volonté nécessaires pour faire face aux épreuves d'une telle campagne. Alors que nous nous souvenons du nombre de ceux et celles qui ont combattu et qui sont morts, ceux et celles qui ont perdu un être cher se souviennent d'un nom, d'un visage. Nous nous souviendrons d'eux. We remember the Canadians whose place of birth was beyond the shores of Canada, who fought and died for freedom. We will remember them. It is with deep gratitude that we remember our veterans and serving members who suffer physical or psychological injuries. May we also show great compassion to those who put an end to the struggle of their lives. Those for whom suffering was so intense, whose despair so profound that they were unable to see a way forward. We will remember them. Puissions-nous nourrir l'espérance que la vie est plus forte que la mort. We pray for the leaders of the world and for those of our country, for our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, for the Governor General, the Prime Minister, the Chief of Defense Staff. We gather to affirm with one another our determination to remove the barriers of division in a spirit of reconciliation. We seek dialogue with one another in all spheres, social, political, and religious, that in doing so, we may achieve a lasting peace. May this be so, and may we all strive to continue our efforts to build a better world. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice-Regal Party will now begin placing their wreaths. Mesdames et messieurs, le cortège vice-royal déposera maintenant les couronnes.
And now the wreath laying begins. The Governor General is always first. Julie Payette will lay a wreath on behalf of the people of Canada. There's the wreath for the people of Canada. Next, this year's Silver Cross Mother will lay a wreath on behalf of all mothers who have lost children while serving their country. Ren Sampson Daw's youngest son, Matthew, died in Afghanistan in 2007 at the age of 27. He was a dedicated soldier and platoon commander, and he had a son of his own who was just 2 at the time. Ben Sampson's Dawes' 3 other sons are in the military too. One is commander of the Special Forces, and her husband is a retired lieutenant colonel. So a long history of service to the country in that family. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is next, his 5th Remembrance Day ceremony. Not all of them here at the National War Memorial. But he's laying a wreath on behalf of the Government of Canada this morning. And now the Speaker of the House of Commons, Jeff Regan, is laying a wreath on behalf of Parliament. In the background, you can hear the guns going off, and the children's choir was also singing in Flanders Fields. I think they've now finished. This is Veterans Affairs Minister Lawrence Mcauley. Very chilly morning in Ottawa. Everyone bundled up warmly there. It's a very solemn moment, and for so many of these people, deeply personal, and we heard that from Chief of Defence Staff Jonathan Vance. You know, he's the guy in charge, but for him this is always a deeply personal moment, as it is for all of the senior staff in the Canadian military. The decisions they make affect the lives of so many of the people who serve. And we're going to watch as the rest of the wreath laying takes place. Other dignitaries and veterans will continue to lay wreaths for the next 10 minutes or so, and we'll come in and out of that. But our David Aiken has been watching in the crowd there and has had a chance to speak to some veterans about why they've come this morning. David.
Yeah, and just before we do that, Dawna, I should point out as well, you mentioned you were seeing some dignitaries lay some wreaths. Those are a lot of the ambassadors from other countries, from Germany, from France, from Afghanistan, of course, where Canadian men and women served and continue to serve. We have men and women in uniform right now in the Baltics, for example. And often when the Prime Minister travels to another country, the Prime Minister will, one of the first things that is done on the program, they'll travel to a cenotaph and lay a wreath. It's a very important part for ongoing remembrance. And the Remembrance Day ceremonies here is a big one. Obviously, there'll be lots all across the country. And here's some interesting news. Ipsos did a poll asking Canadians, will you attend a Remembrance Day ceremony in person? 41% said yes. And for Ipsos, who does this poll every year, that was an all-time high for them. 2 points better than last year and 12 points better than 2 years ago. So Remembrance Day ceremonies showing up, showing veterans that this is an important act of remembrance, is important to veterans and their families. And as you mentioned, Dawna, earlier today, we spoke to some veterans.
The crowd of older military are going away, but there's a huge crowd of new ones that are behind there. So, you know, it's a question of just not thinking about World War I and World War II. This is probably the one that comes to mind all the time. That monument is there since then there, but you know, there's modern veteran now, and they're as important as the one that's beyond, and they're the one that the crowd now has to look to for the same thing that they have today.
And you think about all the soldiers that went through the First World War, the Second World War, and they didn't come back. It's quite emotional.
To be here is a privilege, and you pay for it because it's cold and uncomfortable, and you remember a lot of things that are not pleasant, but they should be done, and people should see us. We should get out and be here so people can look and can say they were there. I didn't win them war by myself, although I tell myself I did, but we did it all together, and we should show the flag, in my view.
And it's a remarkable range of experiences that our veterans have had, Don. Of course, the 40,000 men and women who served in Afghanistan, Canada's longest war, part of the latest generation of veterans that we're honoring today. But again, a remarkable range of experience and sacrifice, and that's what we're remembering today. Dawna?
David Aiken, thank you. There is such strength and comfort in numbers, and we see all those faces in the crowd. Thank you for bringing us some of their stories. As we listen to the guns go off and watch more of the wreaths being laid, we also want to pay tribute to those who are still serving, the Canadian men and women serving in the military right now. In fact, last year, for the first time in nearly a decade, Canada took on a role in a peacekeeping operation, this one in the West African nation of Mali. And it is the most dangerous UN mission in the world right now. A contingent of Canadian armed forces are working in West Africa and just finished an operation in Mali. Canadian forces arrived in northern Mali in June of 2018. 250 personnel, 3 Chinook helicopters and 5 Griffin helicopters, available 24/7 for medical air evacuations of injured UN troops. It's described as a peacekeeping mission, but it was more complicated than that. More than a dozen militant groups, including Islamist militants with links to al-Qaeda, are fighting in Mali, and UN troops are sometimes caught in the middle, sometimes targets themselves. Most expect the conflict in Mali to drag on for years. After more than a year of operations there, the Canadian Armed Forces Air Task Force completed its mission in August 2019. Let's go to Dean Oliver now from the Canadian Museum of History. Dean, everyone here is paying tribute in their own way, often remembering someone they loved who was lost. And that hasn't all been in wars. Canadians have also taken part in dozens of peacekeeping operations like the one in Mali. And in many places, it has not been easy to keep the peace. It's been very dangerous.
Well, one of the lessons of the Second World War, Dawna, was the requirement to participate somehow in the security of the world in ways in which we did not in the 1920s and 30s. And so immediately thereafter, we began a long series of missions and commitments overseas, the largest and most important of which has been the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. But in peacekeeping or peace support operations, more than 120,000 Canadians have served. About 150 plus have been killed. More in shooting wars, hundreds in Korea, 150 plus, 158 I think in Afghanistan, and many of those, even perhaps especially in the period after the Cold War, have been of a level of complexity and difficulty that no one in the 1950s or 1960s, the first peacekeeping missions, had ever envisaged. We remain committed to that. General Vance gave some numbers earlier in your broadcast that in fact on any given day, thousands of Canadians are serving in some place in the presence of danger and the possibility of death.
Yes, and you mentioned how the task has evolved over the years. There is no front line anymore in conflict, it seems. Terrorism has changed the way conflicts play themselves out, and we've seen that, of course, in so many in recent years, chiefly in Afghanistan and also in Mali. And that poses a real challenge, a different kind of challenge for people who serve and for their families back home.
There's a terrible simplicity in knowing that your enemy wears a recognizable uniform or follows a recognizable code. And one of the terrible challenges of international security of all kinds in the last 30 years or so has been that oftentimes there's more than one enemy. The enemy is hidden, wears no uniform, and can attack at any time and from any direction, which poses an enormous challenge to organized armed forces attempting to fight and govern and patrol by the rules and laws of war, and makes for a level of insecurity, threat, danger, and fear that, though it can be perhaps silly to think about it in these terms, is vastly different than what we encountered in either of the two world wars or in Korea. The level of complexity that this level of challenge that complexity places on armed forces like ours is absolutely horrendous, and one which we should all be lucky they handle with such professionalism and not ease, but professionalism and success, and have really since the first missions in the latter 1940s.
Dean Oliver, thank you so much. Our Ottawa Bureau Chief Mercedes Stevenson is near the National War Memorial. Mercedes, is there anything different about today's ceremony compared to other years that you've noticed?
Dawna, I would say a higher level of security than I've seen here in a number of years. The Prime Minister is here, but you can see a significant number of counter snipers on the roofs. They're always here, but there's definitely more security that I can see on the ground from what I've seen in past years. A reminder of what you were just talking about, the way that terrorism has affected us, even here at home. And of course, we remember Nathan Cirillo, who was shot and killed in front of the War Memorial. He was here as one of the honor guards. So it really has touched us literally right here where we're standing right now. And while we're all very safe here today, thank you to those who serve in uniform as police and military, it is a reminder that there is still concern, there is still a threat, it is still very much something that the security services in this country keep an eye on.
Mercedes, thank you. I know you have been talking to veterans in recent days and always keep in close touch with members of the Canadian Armed Forces. And what are your reflections on today and this act of remembrance?
You know, it's such a difficult time of year for veterans, and I think that can be hard sometimes for civilians to understand it. We like to thank them on Remembrance Day. Even that can be very difficult for some veterans. They are remembering those who they served with. They're remembering horrific things that they saw, those who didn't come home. And it's such an emotional time of year, and they and their families need so much support from the rest of Canada. And that appreciation is great today, but to extend beyond today and to realize the incredible toll that this takes on veterans and on their families, the service that they've given. It's certainly a very emotional thing to be a part of. It's very personal for those who served. And on a day like today, I spoke to one veteran who told me from November 1st until November 11th, every day he feels like he's waking up to go to a funeral. So that tells you some of the feeling that many veterans have at this time of year.
Very well spoken, Mercedes. Thank you. It's an important act of remembrance today, but important too to remember our veterans and those who served through the course of the entire year. Thank you, Mercedes. At the end of this ceremony, members of the public are able to get close to the War Memorial and place their own wreaths or poppies or other mementos on the tomb of the unknown soldier. And after this service is over today, all of those mementos and photos are gathered up, recorded, and put into storage at the Canadian War Museum. So gone but not forgotten. Our coverage of this service is going to wrap up shortly. It will continue at the National War Memorial and, of course, at cenotaphs and memorials across this country. So thank you so much for sharing part of your morning with us, for taking time out of your day to remember, to pay tribute, and to reflect. I will be back later today with all the day's news on Global National. I'm Dawna Friesen. Thanks for watching.
Nous sommes ici sur cet emplacement sacré pour nous souvenir et témoigner.
This has been a...
We are grateful to the younger veterans and the older veterans who gather in mutual respect and admiration as partners in the battle against evil. We are grateful to them for fighting our fight to assure freedom and dignity for everyone, deserving to be celebrated, applauded, and eternally appreciated as authentic heroes. We are grateful to them for their bravery. We are grateful to them for their dignity. We are grateful to them for their selflessness. We are grateful to them for their embrace of Canada. We are grateful to them for the devotion to global freedom and peacekeeping that defines them. We are grateful to them for risking their future on our behalf, and their knowing that even if they return whole in body, they will still be confronted with looming issues from invisible wounds. We are grateful for them for being the unifying inspiration of selflessness and dedication, reminding us of what being Canadian is all about. May those who died be remembered lovingly. May those who were injured be healed in body and spirit. May those who served and continue to serve live out their lives in a world free of terror and suffused with tranquility, the type of world they fought to create and preserve. How do we continually say thank you to our veterans? By embracing them, by hugging them, by expressing our appreciation to every veteran we meet in all places and at all times, by teaching our children how much in their debt we always will be. Let us continue to make Canada worthy of their dedication and sacrifice, a country in which respect, harmony, inclusion, responsibility, and kindness fill the air. On this D-Day's 75th anniversary year, we reflect on the term D-Day. The D in D-Day does not stand for anything specific, but we can make this a specifically D-year, a D-year that stands for everything, everything meaningful. How do we achieve a banner D-year? We achieve that by championing what our veterans fought to protect. Here is a blueprint for a D-year. Let us dazzle in the dynamic devotion to our destiny as a country determined in its dedication to the dignified diversity of its people, as we delight in the delivery of deferential decency with discipline and diligence to assure that we can all live the Canadian dream. God bless our veterans. God bless our troops. God bless all those who stand on guard. Peace champions all, here and abroad. God bless Canada. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, God save the Queen. Mesdames et messieurs, que Dieu protège la reine. Ladies and gentlemen, the march-off will soon commence. Our veterans will lead the parade, followed by the Royal Military College of Canada, members of the Royal Canadian Navy, the Canadian Army, and the Royal Canadian Air Force, HMCS Carleton, the Governor-General's Foot Guards, the Cameron Highlanders of Ottawa, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, cadets from the Navy, Army, and Air Cadet organizations, and the Navy League Cadets of Canada, and the 30th Field Regiment, Royal Canadian Artillery. Mesdames et Messieurs, le défilé de sortie avec les vétérans en tête débutera sous peu, suivi par le Collège royal militaire du Canada, les membres de la Marine royale du Canada, de l'armée canadienne et de l'aviation royale canadienne. NCSM Carleton, les Governor General's Foot Guards, les Cameron Highlanders of Ottawa, la Gendarmerie royale du Canada, les cadets de la Marine, de l'Armée et de l'Air, et les cadets de la Ligue navale du Canada, et le 30e Régiment d'artillerie de campagne de l'Artillerie royale du Canada. Thank you for your attendance at the National Remembrance Day ceremony. Today, as a grateful nation, we stand in collective remembrance of all who have fallen in the military service of Canada. May we never forget.
So nice to see you again.
Place a wreath at the National
You are as well every time you were here with us.
Oh, I have so many layers.
Me too. I have 2 sets of pajamas. We're coming tomorrow to see a friend of ours is getting us over. Yes, I hope. I'm looking forward to it. I'm on Army.
We want that back Washington clean, eh?
Yeah. Granddad, come on.
No, he doesn't mind. For sure.
Thanks a lot. Morning. How are you? I'm freezing. Doing good thing. We're trying. We have no balance.
Not a veteran, father of the veteran.
Warmer, yes.
Serving.
Good.
Are you still
Good.
There will be a concluding presentation this evening from 6:30 p.m. to midnight. The poppy drop is also displayed outside the National Art Center until midnight this evening. Please join us for this beautiful pledge of remembrance. Finalement, nous tenons à mentionner les 2 dernières semaines de notre campagne nationale du coquelicot de cette année, la Légion royale virtuelle de coquelicot sur l'écran formé de la Tour de la Paix et de l'édifice de son de la famille parlementaire. Ce montage a été vu jusqu'ici par plusieurs milliers de Canadiens partout au pays et à travers le monde. Il y aura une présentation de clôture en soirée de 10
Yes, you're everywhere I go.
Good morning, sir.
Such energy.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Wonderful.
It's warm?
No, I'm cold.
Next white all day. Morning, sir. Good morning.
That's real. Succession, right contingent, eyes! Foot!
This would be our captain. I got it. That's what I was about to say. I'm out of here. It's Uber. Just call.
Pretty quick service.
I said that.
We will see you in a bit. Stay safe. Yeah,
Pleasure to meet you. Hope you have a good 4 years. Well, you know, we gotta pray.
Remembering Mark April.
How you doing? Good to see you.
We love your hat. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you. Merci d'être ici.
You're right. Right there. Don't let him push you. Bonjour.
Merci. Les amis, on va prendre une photo là. We'll take a quick picture. Okay, let's turn around this way.
Hey, yeah, we'll get this to you guys. Everybody put your phones down. Look at me. Then we'll do this group over here.
Thank you. Thank you
so much. 5 other Liberal MPs are carrying terrorists to fight our troops. RCMP file number 12-18-0.
Thank you so much. If you're ready right now.
Thank you.
Yes, I have him.
You're welcome. Welcome.